السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. أمسينا وأمسى الملك لله والحمد لله، لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، له الملك وله الحمد وهو على كل شيء قدير. رب أسألك خير ما في هذه الليلة وخير ما بعدها. رب أعوذ بك من شر ما في هذه الليلة ومن شر ما بعدها. رب أعوذ بك من الكسل والسوء الكبر. رب أعوذ بك من عذاب في النار ومن عذاب في القبر. بسم الله الواحد الأحد الفرد الصمد الذي لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. والحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه، حمدا يليق بجلال وجهه وعظيم سلطانه وجزيل نعمائه، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف أنبيائه وعلى آله الطاهرين وأصحابه الميامين والتابعين لهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. اللهم اجعلنا منهم يا الله. Let us be of those who follow in the footsteps of that most special early generation of the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, and to cleanse and purge our hearts and minds, our thoughts and feelings from that which He does not love subhanahu wa ta'ala. And indeed, the noblest quest for human beings, and Muslims in particular, in this dunya, in this world, is to develop a condition inside of us, a mind, a soul, a self, a heart that is beautiful in imitating and trying to imitate the inner beauty of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. And of that is the topic which we began to speak of last week, and that was what topic? Al-Ikhlas. And we have said, inshallah ta'ala, I suppose within the requirements of time, we have said that which is useful to us and is enough for us to hopefully understand that concept and seek to internalize it and strive to actualize the consequences of that in our lives. And in that context, I remind you that Allah Azza wa Jal tells us, وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلَصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. That people, the world, human beings, and therefore the messages of Allah Azza wa Jal to the world were all about to be commanded to be in ibadah of Allah with ikhlas to Him Azza wa Jal in their deen. And we spoke of what ibadah means and deen means, and therefore what ikhlas constitutes. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam also had said of the many other texts and the many ayat, we chose one, and we chose one hadith also, من عمل عملا فأشرك فيه غيري, as Allah Azza wa Jalla says, فهو رد وهو للذي أشرك. That if anyone performs an act, again acts inside of us or external acts, wherein we associate with Allah or other besides Allah, other than Allah, that's called shirk in general, and that's rejected, and that it would all go on the day of judgment to that element and that identity which we accepted and associated in this dunya. And on the day of judgment, that's of no use, because no one is of any benefit except as Allah pleases and as Allah allows subhanahu wa ta'ala. And therefore we spoke of the consequences of that concept, such as riya, right? Ostentation. And therefore to do the good things in this world, especially the things with which we are supposed to intend divine pleasure, divine nearness, divine acceptance, especially the أعمال الأفعال التي نتقرب بها إلى الله عز وجل فنشرك فيها غيره سبحانه وتعالى. All sorts of deeds, if we do with another motive other than for the love of Allah, or other than reverence for Allah, for example, or other than the fact Allah loves that, and that helps me in my relationship with Allah Azza wa Jal. And we do actions that are otherwise nice and good and intended for ibadah, with that association, for example, that's rejected. And of that, when we do that for arrogance, for delusion, self-aggrandizement, or for seeking a mansib, special position in society, for that monetarily or politically or power-wise, and we do the good things for that, or simply because it makes me feel good in my nafsani, self-oriented inclinations, hudud al-nafs that are so many. All of that we have to be very careful about when we act or we omit and we don't do things that are supposed to be of ibadah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we mentioned that some of the other beautiful things along with that and ikhlas, we have said that some of our masters and sages of our early salaf rahimahullah ta'ala and predecessors who have knowledge and had beautiful souls and practiced and lived that, وَتَذَوَّقُوا تِلْكَ الْمَعَانِي, and they developed an experiential sense of those meanings. They said beautiful things for you and for me to learn from and to develop a clearer appreciation of these qualities, in this case ikhlas. Do you remember what one of them said? That I said, let's go and practice that and think about that. It helps us in the promotion of ikhlas. For example, what was that? Ibrahim ibn Adam is not what the is the person. And it's good to remember the person as a special person, but what did he from that life experience and from those ahwal that he lived and from that dhawq, spiritual really taste that he had of those values, what did he say? He or someone else? You said Ibrahim ibn Adam, yes, we mentioned Sayyidina Ibrahim ibn Adam. What did he say?
All my life, my goal, I strive to make everything just like make it every action for me to be in ikhlas.
Let's put it that way. Yeah, he said it in that meaning, right. When he was told, why did you give up princehood and all of that glory and that power, etc. Why did you give that up? As a Muslim, and he was a regular Muslim. Well, he said, I gave that up so that Allah opened for me the tariq for ikhlas, the path for ikhlas. And yaftah Allahu li tariq al-ikhlas. And then so that three things happen, and he mentioned those three things which you forgot. Now you have to keep them in mind. You have to remember them, that are meant to be remembered. Anybody remembers them? No. Do you remember something else that we said about ikhlas? If you didn't remember this, I hope you remembered at least one or two others. Anybody? Khalas. For example, الإخلاص نسيان رؤية الخلق بدوام النظر إلى الحق. How could you not be interested in this? How could you not memorize this? I tell you, when I used to be sitting like that, and I still do, if I hear something and it's important, I sit, I record it, and I memorize it. If I'm sleeping, forgive me to say this to you, if I'm sleeping and I remember something and I forget it, I get up and I go, and it doesn't matter what time it is, and I look it up to remember it again. And this when I was even in my teens and 20s. And still now things like that I do. Ilm is meant to be internalized. If it is an ayah of the Quran, a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a word of our sages that helped me, that's how we change. Alhamdulillah that you are here, may Allah bless you, it's better than otherwise, but we have to act. نسيان رؤية الخلق بدوام النظر إلى الحق. Ikhlas is when you forget your awareness or that you are in sight of creation. How? By constantly minding and being aware and looking at with your heart Al-Haqq Azza wa Jal. By reorienting yourself inside بدوام النظر إلى الحق. To always develop awareness and to strive to be aware, to disengage, to reject false, to struggle. There is struggle there until you are always inside aware of Allah Azza wa Jal. دوام النظر إلى الله. For example, there is something there, it's clouded, you can't see it, and you keep looking, and you keep looking, and you keep looking, and so that you don't see anything else until you get it. And as you keep looking and looking and looking, you're going to forget everything else. Until, because you're so enamored and you're so moved and so concentrated. That will help me forget النظر إلى الخلق بدوام النظر إلى الحق. And that's the essence of ikhlas. That's why the other one said, ألا تطلب, what did we say? لعملك شاهدا سوى الله. And that as consequence, you do not desire, you do not seek, you do not want anything to witness what you do except Allah. هذا الإخلاص. هذا الإخلاص. So we said that so that you and I go and then practice. Then I practice, I train myself. Okay, you read a book, forgive me for this example, but people, young people, so read a book about how you build your physical body. And you keep reading it and you know it all. Are you going to develop those muscles if you don't go and practice? You know it very well, you can teach it, but you're not that person until you go and exercise that. Keep exercising and then you'll have a deeper meaning of what that is. So هكذا my dear brothers and sisters, هكذا العلم للعمل والعمل بالإخلاص. Ilm is intended for action and action is intended to be in ikhlas. So we said things like that, for example, to help us, alhamdulillah, with this very, very primary and very important characteristic of a Muslim. And then, as we said, if you review these things and then you will think about it, and then you will practice that through ibadah, and you practice that, you develop a taste, a spiritual taste, not a taste with the tongue, but like we develop a taste for something in the physical sense, in the spiritual sense we develop a taste for a character, for sidq, for ikhlas, for kada. By doing what? If you don't taste, you don't develop a taste. Right? So by practicing, we begin to develop a taste, spiritual taste. And that spiritual taste, for example, will lead those who have done that, حفظهم الله ورحمهم الله ورضي الله تعالى عنهم, to begin to realize that there's a very strong relationship between Tawheed and Ikhlas. And then between Ikhlas and something else. Sidq. And that's the next thing. Sidq, which we translate usually as truthfulness. Sidq. And the adjective is Sadiq. Sadiq. Let's see how they relate. Those who have dhawq, spiritual dhawq, they already know and feel the very strong relationship between Ikhlas and Sidq. Sidq. And Sidq is not only Sidq of words, Sidq of all, Sidq of character. You see, not Sidq only of speaking, Sidq of ahwal, of character, of what we are inside, as we shall see. Let's say a few words about Sidq, that which we all first of all need to practice and is more understandable to us. Namely, to speak the truth and never to lie. Never to lie. Never to lie in prosperity or in adversity. في السراء أو في الضراء لي أو علي. Not to lie. Not to lie to a young person or to an animal. Not to lie to a child or a spouse or a stranger. Not to lie to suit my, to accomplish my aims that I would not be able to accomplish otherwise. So if I cannot, then let me lie to accomplish that. No. No. No lie. Not lying even in joking, in being funny. Not even there. Because lying is the characteristic, as Rasulullah tells us and Allah Azza wa Jal tells us, is the characteristic of the worst of human beings, and that is the munafiq, as you all know. The munafiq. Munafiq is called what in English? Hypocrite. Not really. That's my personal opinion. It's not a good translation. Munafiq, the word, not necessarily. Munafiqun, they do instigate also. But it's a very interesting word in Arabic, because it comes from nafiqa. And you know what the nafiqa, it's a noun, and nafiqa is? Huh? No, that's nafaqa. Nafaqatun. Nafiqatun. What is a nafiqa? Sort of like a tunnel underground. Like a nafaq. But a nafiqa is, there's the jarabi, the animal, al-yarbu', the jarabi in the desert. We have it in the States, and probably in Texas we have it somewhere south. California and in the desert, the jarabi. It looks like a mouse, big, long tail, and it looks also like a small kangaroo. And it runs and it leaves a path by its tail. That jarbu', it digs its habitat under the ground, and it digs many tunnels, and then many exits, so that when the pursuer follows it, it enters from one, and he enters there, and it goes from different tunnels, and those other tunnels are false tunnels. They don't lead to anywhere else, and they get stuck. The pursuer, the hunter, the predator. So in other words, it builds those nafiqat to deceive the pursuer, to deceive the pursuer. Though I am here, but I am not there actually. This is the way, but it is not there, of course, to be safe. And that call is nafiqatun, and the munafiq is the one who gives semblance that he is or she is like something, to deceive and to delude while he or she is not. That's why the worst expression of that is when a person harbors unbelief and acts externally and speaks as a good believer. But there are always signs. So that's a munafiq. So you see, hypocrite is not exactly, though yes, it leads to, but when you know the origin of this word, you have a better feeling. So that's a munafiq. And one of the characteristics of a munafiq, Rasulullah ﷺ says, is to lie. And that's by itself awful enough to make a true faithful person repugnant in the face of lying. Sidq, and the opposite of sidq. A person who lies, could he be a mukhlis? Why not? Because when a person lies, speaks that which is not the truth, this person in that moment is not present with Allah Azza wa Jal. If that person in that moment, his heart or her heart is fully with Allah Azza wa Jal, she or he cannot do that. But if his or her heart is with other things, with his own self, or with this interest or that interest, and that's lack of ikhlas. It is stained by other than Allah. You are looking and entertaining other than Allah. That's why a person would lie. It's inconsistent with ikhlas and therefore inconsistent with tawheed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, my dear sisters and brothers, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu attaqu allaha wa kunu I'm sorry? اتقوا الله وكونوا مع الصادقين. Oh, you have attained faith, اتقوا الله. And what is taqwa of Allah? You hear that a lot and you translate it in the way you want. Allah consciousness, khair. When you hear ittaqillah, what do you feel? Fear of Allah. Awareness of Allah Azza wa Jal. Ittaqa, what does ittaqa mean in the Arabic language? To protect, to shield against. So it says, ittaqillah, keep yourself protected from Allah. What do you mean, I keep myself protected from Allah? That's what it is saying, ittaqillah. It means what? Ittaqillah. Keep yourself protected from Allah. Because Allah sees and knows all the time. If you are in that state of taqwa, I am not going to say or do or feel that which will lead to His displeasure towards me and His justice upon me. And there are consequences of that in dunya and in akhirah. The consequences of that in this life and in the hereafter, of all sorts. Worst of which is to be distant from Allah Azza wa Jal. That my heart becomes veiled from being specially aware of Allah Azza wa Jal and connected to Allah and loving of Allah and knowing of Allah Azza wa Jal. Other things will always preoccupy me and will take over me. The consequence of that, when I'm not carrying the shield of taqwa, of Allah consciousness, of being always aware of Allah Azza wa Jal, not to speak, not to do, not to feel that which He does not love, that which displeases Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is taqwa. Don't leave it just as a word. Taqwa, that means I must be in that condition. So I watch my words. I watch my deeds. I watch my feelings and emotions and thoughts, not to entertain anything that displeases Allah Azza wa Jal. If I do that, then I'm in a state of taqwa. And that's obligatory. وَكُونُوا مَعَ الصَّادِقِينَ. Now he says that, and be with the صادقون, plural of صادق, those who are صادق. Be with those who are صادق. 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 Let's see further what we will learn more about this صدق and ikhlas. Allah Azza wa Jal created the human beings, one of the Salihun said, and He created other creatures, animals too. And He distinguished between animals and human beings. Human beings are nobler than animals, and animals have rights. But the human beings, Allah elevated وَفَضَّلَهُمْ and favored them over animals. We use animals in what is good for us in our relationship with Allah. Now time is passing and animals are using us. I don't want to say further. Allah gives us animals to serve us, and some of us end up as a maskh to be, mashallah, servants of dogs. How Allah Azza wa Jal abases certain khalq. That is, with being, still with being kind to animals. That doesn't mean we turn the functions around. على أي حال, Allah Azza wa Jal distinguished human beings from animals, and between human beings He distinguished another kind of human beings that He favored over other human beings, which are what? Not on the basis of race or color, but taqwa, the mu'minun. A mu'min human being is favored by God, by Allah, over a non-mu'min human being, by Allah Azza wa Jal, and on the Day of Judgment. And then amongst human beings, amongst mu'minun, believing men and women, there are those who are favored also. And of course that's by the level of taqwa. But one of the salihun, one of the ulama, in one ayah he says, and Allah Azza wa Jal distinguished from the mu'minun rijal. Rijal, because Allah says in the Quran, من المؤمنين رجال صدقوا ما عاهدوا الله عليه. And of those believing persons, Allah distinguished and selected of those رجال من صدقوا ما عاهدوا الله عليه. They were truthful in what they pledged to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in what they promised to Allah Azza wa Jal, in their pledge of allegiance to Allah Azza wa Jal. Sadaqu. In other words, a mu'min who is sadiq in his ahd versus a mu'min who is not so sadiq with his ahd, who are better. Sadiq fi ahdi. And Allah calls that al-rajul. And al-rajul sometimes in the Arabic language, a man, and man, al-rajul, though it means the man, masculine, male, but sometimes in a certain context it would use to indicate a person with special character. So like in this case, رِجَالٌ صَدَقُوا مَا عَاهَدُوا اللَّهَ عَلَيْهِ, men who are truthful in what they pledge to Allah Azza wa Jal and what they promise to Allah Azza wa Jal, and women are like that, and they would be called رِجَال. صَدَقُوا مَا عَاهَدُوا اللَّهَ عَلَيْهِ. صدق, those who do not lie, those who uphold their words. Not upholding a word is the opposite of sidq. Those who, alhamdulillah, fulfill their pledges. That's a sadiq versus those who do not fulfill their pledges. And we shall see more, inshaAllah ta'ala. That's why one of the salihun, yes, actually, Abu Sa'id al-Kharraz, rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, and this was a alim salih wali min awliya Allah, he said he saw in a dream. Look what type of a dream some of them have. And in that dream he saw a malak, an angel, descending from heaven. And he asked him, Ya Aba Sa'id, what is sidq? Imagine that. Look how they are taught. Allahu Akbar. What are some of our dreams? I'm not going to ask you. You know what some of our dreams are all about. Sometimes the quality of our dreams may tell us the quality of what we are inside. But look at this ibad of Allah, subhanAllah, with their safa. He sees a malak descending from heavens, and he says to him, and he asks him a question, and that's the way to teach. What is sidq, Ya Aba Sa'id? He said, and I replied, Al-wafa'u bil-ahd. That's how he was inspired. Al-wafa'u bil-ahd. He says to me, Sadaqt. And he ascended back. He said, when I replied, Al-wafa'u bil-ahd, he said, you spoke the truth. And he ascended back. Al-wafa'u bil-ahd. To uphold one's word or one's promise or one's pledge. Al-wafa'u bil-ahd. Under all circumstances. To a child, to a spouse, to a friend, to a neighbor, to a foe, to a friend. Al-wafa'u bil-ahd. Oh, al-amana, therefore the concept of amana, of trustworthiness and honesty. Al-wafa'u bil-ahd. That's why another righteous salih said, الصدق الوفاء بالعهد مع وجود الصفاء. مع وجود الصفاء. That's why another of our sages said, rahimahullah ta'ala, صدق, truthfulness, is al-wafa'u bil-ahd, to be one who fulfills his pledges, promises and words and so on, and agreements, etc. مع وجود الصفاء, while he or she inside is clean and pure and untainted. مع وجود الصفاء. You don't do that, you don't fulfill your pledge and you wished you didn't. You don't fulfill your pledge and because you lost and you don't like it. That's not safa. That's tainted inside. Al-wafa'u bil-ahdi ma'a wujud al-safa. Did you see the difference? SubhanAllah, to fulfill our pledges, to fulfill our words, to uphold our promises, while inside we are clean and pure. It does not matter what I lose, as long as it is within my tawheed and my ikhlas and so on. مع وجود الصفاء versus I'm unclean or tainted inside with rancor or hate or displeasure or other negative feelings, my dear brothers and sisters. Aina. And that's why you find Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as-Sadiq al-Amin, teaching us, and I'm going to choose one hadith or two only, when he teaches sallallahu alaihi wasallam about sidq, when he says, عليكم بالصدق فإن الصدق يهدي إلى البر وإن البر يهدي إلى الجنة. Connected? 1, 2, 3. عليكم بالصدق. You must uphold صدق. You must develop صدق. عليكم. It's a command. In other words, it's a duty upon you to be truthful, to be صادق. عليكم بالصدق. Why? Because صدق leads to bir. And what is al-bir? Is every virtuous good deed. It's every good deed, every goodness, bir, that Allah loves. And the adjective of bir is bar. Birrun is the noun, al-bar is the adjective. The person is bar, barrun biwalidayh, and birrul walidain. Al-bir is the noun and al-bar is the adjective. So he says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when we are truthful and we practice that and we uphold that and we strive to be that way, it will lead us to become bar. It will lead us to practice bir, to be always doing good and noble and honorable, beautiful characteristics. Sidq leads to that. And that bir leads to Jannah. Leads to Jannah, paradise, ultimately. And of course, one would say in a spiritual sense, it will lead also to Jannah before the Jannah of the hereafter. There is a Jannah where? In this world. Where is Jannah in this world? Do you know where it is? Somewhere? Can we go? Inside your qalb. You develop a Jannah inside your qalb. The paradise inside your qalb becomes a paradise. Your qalb becomes a Jannah. If you are that person and Allah gives you things in your qalb, in your life, in this world filled with whatever it is filled with, Allah gives the qalb that which others don't have and they wish they had. Of certitude, of yaqeen, of peace when others are scared, of security and serenity. That's why one of the salihun would say, my bustan, my garden, my Jannah is inside of me. Wherever I go, it goes with me. What can they do to me? Because inside, He is always in that garden. His qalb is, mashallah, his qalb is roaming in the upper dimensions of the feelings of nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Aina وَإِنَّ الْبِرَّ يَهْدِي إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ etc. Sidq, my dear brothers, sidq. One of our salihun sages, Sayyidina Dhunnun al-Misri rahimahullah ta'ala, is related to have said, and now when I tell you these people say, now these are not people like, and most of us are used to learning through theory and books and teaching and words and understanding, and most of us, even teachers and dua and so on, we take what we know and understand as that's all it is. These people are more than that. They know and they understand and they are very intelligent, but they have something else by practicing and by striving and by dhikr and by dua and by salah and by patience and by practicing sawm and by restraining themselves and by striving. They practice until they develop a dhawq, as we say. They develop a taste of these things. Because Iman is not something in the head. What did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says when he spoke of Iman? And he pointed to his heart. Al-Imanu ma waqara fil qalb. Here. It's not here. Or here. It's here. And here we speak of feeling. Have you ever felt something? No, I didn't feel it. I know it. Good. I know it, but I don't feel it. I don't feel it yet. Do you have a taste of it? No, I don't have a taste of it. Have you heard of this fruit somewhere? From an exotic fruit? I've heard of it. Yeah, I know it. I've seen it in pictures. I've seen it how it looks. I've seen how it looks. I can draw it for you. I can tell you a lot about it, about its biology, about its chemical, organization inside. I can tell you a lot of knowledge. No, that's not what I'm interested in. How does it taste? Oh, I don't know. I didn't taste it. These, rahimahullah ta'ala, when they speak like this, they have tasted. These are the sages of this ummah, the great sages of this ummah, bright intellects and very transparent souls. So he says, rahimahullah ta'ala, الصدق سيف الله. Sidq is the sword of God, is the sword of Allah. Sidq, truthfulness, is the sword of Allah on earth, fil ard. So what does this mean? This is a metaphor. What does this mean? If you have sidq, what do you have? The sword of God. If you have the sword of God, you are invincible. Nothing hurts you. You are invincible. You know those movies where they have sword and the one who gets that sword that's it, wins everything. Nothing hurts them, they beat everybody and the sword does everything. Right? Movies. The sword of God on earth. What? As-sidq, truthfulness. If you are truthful, you are protected. You are protected. And yet some of us, when we seek certain things, when we have certain problems and we try and it doesn't work, we give up and we have recourse to other, not so upright means. Well, it didn't work, I have to do something else. Did you practice sidq? Did you practice sidq? Sidq requires patience and steadfastness in doing something right. And we give up. And we give up, the gift of that sword of God, of the truth. The truth, the sidq. And most of us, especially in these times, we don't look at the solutions of our problems at home or at work or internationally or kada from this perspective anymore. Oh, come on. Well, come on, yeah. Watch what's coming next and how long it's going to last. 50 years, 100 years, 200 years. And yet sidq would have changed it by the grace of Allah for sure. Much less time than that. Sidq. Sayfullah fil ard. Be truthful to your enemy. Be truthful to your foe, to your opponent. Even if it were against you. And against your own personal interests. Wealth and power and kada. Be sadiq. And you have the sword of God with you. But we don't practice that. صدق. سيف الله في الأرض إذا وضع على شيء ما وضع على شيء إلا قطعه. Whenever it is laid upon anything, it slices through it. That's a beautiful metaphor. In other words, you have it, and it is, inshallah ta'ala, the resolution of all that which is good for you. Sidq. Sidq. As a matter of fact, I remember now, I don't remember the details, but I remember a beautiful story I read a long time ago from our ancestors, and this is not reported by ulama. In other words, it is not just storytelling of storytellers. Nothing I tell you, inshallah, is of that sort. It's all from sources of ilm. In that source, it was, I think, at the time of the Tabi'in or so. One of the harsh, governors of that time was looking for a righteous man. And that righteous man was fleeing, and he came, and it was in the open, and there was a tent of this righteous Salih. I forgot who he was again, forgive me. And he said, please, I need refuge because they are pursuing me. I think it was in the time of Al-Hajjaj ibn Yusuf. And he said, go in the tent. Open tent. Go in the tent. And then the horsemen arrive, and he said, did you see this? And they know who he was, this righteous man. Did you see who this person? He said, he's in the tent. He says, look at him in the tent. Look for him in the tent. When he said that, they laughed. They said, yeah, okay, this is one of his jokes. How could he be this open in the tent? He would not. And they left. They didn't look in the tent. When Allah wants something. Because that man lived always in sidq. This is not just like an occasion. Or to show off. That was a sadiq. And he could not say, he is not in the tent. Look in the tent. Sidq saves. In the ways often we don't anticipate and we don't gauge. And sometimes, unfortunately, we don't accept. Aynan. Hey, subhanAllah. And that's why we can also say that sidq is, as another Imam, rahimahullah ta'ala, Abu Yaqub al-Nahrajuri said, again another alim, wali min awliya illah, he said, الصدق, at least this, موافقة الحق في السر والعلانية. الصدق موافقة الحق في السر والعلانية. Remember this. These are easy things to remember. I'm going to test you next time. Don't say he's going to test us, we're not going to come. Then that's lack of sidq and ikhlas. Alhamdulillah, it's not testing to intimidate, it's just to have you to participate and to remember. So, as-sidq, do we say what is it? موافقة الحق في السر والعلانية. No, next time, not now. Practice it. If you practice, you don't forget it. And you practice sidq, you'll be siddiq, and maybe Allah will show you. So he says, rahimahullah ta'ala, sidq simply is muwafaqatul haqq. To be always favorable and walk alongside and in agreement with al-haqq. Al-haqq is what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But al-haqq is also, we say, the truth, the absolute reality. Al-haqq. Muwafaqatul haqq fi sirri, whether I am in privacy, alone, inside of me, wal-alaniya, or I am in public and in the open, or in my external expressions. I should always be in agreement with, favorable to, alongside with, in agreement to al-haqq, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So look inside of you, look inside of us. This thing that I am feeling, is it favorable with Allah Azza wa Jalla or not? If it is favorable, I keep it. If it is not, I strive to free my mind from it. This thing that I'm going to do externally, I'm going to say, is it favorable to Allah or not? If it is, I do. If it is not, I do not. This is صدق. موافقة الحق في السر والعلانية. In privacy and in public. Inside of me and what I do externally and in my outward expressions. موافقة الحق في السر والعلانية. صدق. All the time. At home. In my family affairs. In my work affairs. In my business. With my neighbors. When I'm angry. When I'm pleased. Satisfied. صدق مع الله عز وجل. الصدق والعدل في الغضب والرضا من المنجيات, as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam teaches us, of that which saves us is to be the same in truthfulness and in equity and in justice, whether I am pleased or angry or displeased. هكذا الصدق موافقة الحق في السر والعلانية. That's why we hear Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam teaching us. Now this is dua. This is a dua. اللهم اجعل سريرتي خيرا من علانيتي. سبحان الله. اللهم اجعل سريرتي خيرا من علانيتي. This part first. Ya Allah, please make me inside even better than what I am outside. Make me more beautiful inside than I appear to be to others outside. If I appear to others to be beautiful physically, make me inside even more beautiful. If I appear to others in my words, in my actions, in my comportment externally to be beautiful and good, make me inside more beautiful. اجعل سريرتي خيرا من علانيتي واجعل علانيتي صالحة. And on top of that, Ya Allah, indeed make my outward expression upright and righteous. Yes, I want also to be externally outwardly upright and righteous, but inside more even beautiful. And you see how sidq relates to, since it relates to the heart, it relates to ikhlas. And if a sidq is about alhamdulillah, what we are so far saying, then it is indeed connected to ikhlas, because ikhlas, as we said, is when we are not tainted inside of us by any other contaminants. And the contaminant is what? The contaminant in the heart is what? In general, other than, I'm sorry? حظوظ النفس, yes, other than Allah is a contaminant. Other than Allah is a contaminant. Other than Allah is a contaminant. I must not allow in this vessel and container inside of me other than Allah. And other than Allah means also I accept only by Allah other than Allah. See what I mean? Because other than Allah is to be truthful. But to be truthful, Allah loves it. That I allow by the screen of Allah only. So I allow truthfulness, I allow kindness, I allow compassion, I allow gentleness, I allow justice, I allow benevolence. وهكذا. I allow that, I allow محبة, I allow خوف من الله وإجلال لله عز وجل. I allow kindness and love to my parents, to my teachers, kindness to the needy and the poor. And I allow that because they are screened by Tawheed of Allah Azza wa Jalla, what Allah loves. So when I say contaminants is other than Allah, and therefore only by Allah I accept inside of me what I accept. And that's ikhlas. And sidq, to be truthful, is when we are inside aware of Allah Azza wa Jal in a very special sense, we are sadiq. Now, if we didn't get something yet, which I did not perhaps express as explicitly yet, the next one will help elucidate it, inshaAllah ta'ala. In addition to what we said. Al-Imam al-Junayd, rahimahullah ta'ala. Who doesn't know Al-Imam al-Junayd? Anybody doesn't know Imam Junayd? MashaAllah. Junayd. Al-Junayd al-Baghdadi. Okay. Imam al-Junayd is he lived in the around the 3rd century Hijri, I believe, in Baghdad. That's why Baghdadi. And who has heard of Sidi Abdul Qadir al-Jilani? All of you. Abu al-Hasan al-Shadhili. All of you. What about Ma'ruf al-Karhi? Good. What about Abu Sulaiman al-Darani? What about Ahmad ibn Abi al-Hawari? What about Sayri al-Saqati? These are grand names of our predecessors, of our Salaf, in ilm and in hearts. And they are the shuyukh of the tariqah. That is the shuyukh, the masters of the tariqah, of the path of the spiritual dimension of Islam, which was called tasawwuf, the real kind of tasawwuf. Al-Junayd al-Baghdadi rahimahullah ta'ala is known as Shaykh al-Mashayikh, the Shaykh of the Tariqah, the Shaykh of the spiritual path, consistent with the Kitab and the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Most consistent. To the extent that later critiques of some aspects of Tasawwuf, later critiques, they do not touch Junayd. Even the likes of Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, who was very staunch in some of his critiques, some of it was right, some of it was not so right, rahimahullah ta'ala. When it comes to Junayd, he is the top. And he has great reverence for Imam al-Junayd, as he has great reverence for Shaykh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, as he has great reverence for some of those names I mentioned to you. But Junayd, when he mentions his name, he says, قَدَّسَ اللَّهُ سِرَّهُ. Aynam. Qaddasallahu sirrah. May Allah make holy his innermost being. Because Junayd is the master in compliance with the Kitab and the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Allah gave him knowledge and practice and dhawq in the spiritual realm. His heart was beautiful. So they take him as authority, including the likes of Shaykh Ibn Taymiyyah rahmahullah ta'ala. So, and if you want to know that, read what Ibn Taymiyyah says rahmahullah ta'ala in his Majmu' al-Fatawi, in the volume that is reserved totally for Tasawwuf, volume 10 in the old edition, and for Suluk, volume 11 in the old edition. An entire volume, 2 volumes of 600 pages on these subject matters. So he says, Imam al-Junayd says, rahimahullah ta'ala, الصدق به تمام الأحوال. الصدق به تمام الأحوال وكل حال خلا منه كان ناقصا. وكل حال خلا منه كان ناقصا. الصدق, he said, به تمام الأحوال. You know what ahwal is plural of? Hal. And hal usually in simple language is translated as what? كيف حالك? Alright. كيف حالك? I say, how are you? حالك means your condition. How are you? Inside of you, actually. Hal. And there is a hal inside and hal outside. But usually hal is what we're talking about inside. And the ahwal, plural of hal, is these concepts that we're talking about, that a person develops to have inside of him or her as an experience, not just as a knowledge and an information and a logic, but as a dhawq, as a hal versus a maqal. A hal. Therefore, the hal of tawbah, a person is in hal of tawbah, of repentance inside, in hal of tawbah. A person is in hal of love, he is in hal. It's not hal, it's taken emotionally, he's in hal of hubb, love. A person is in hal of khawf, of fear. A person is in hal of raja, of hope. A person is in hal of, for example, of shawq, longing. You know, a person is in hal, is crazy. Hal. Now the positive concept of ahwal, he says, radiallahu ta'ala an, that al-ahwal are not complete. The hal of tawbah, the hal of sabr, the hal of hilm, the hal of khawf, the hal of hubb, the hal of shawq, the hal of يعني معرفة, the hal of what else? Of karam, the hal of jood, وهكذا. None of that is complete without sadq. In other words, are you patient? Say, are you patient? I'm asking you. No, alhamdulillah, I don't have to ask you the next question. Are you patient? You're patient. Are you sadiq in that? I mean, I hope so. Yeah. Good for you. Are you patient? You say yes. Well, are you sadiq in that feeling of patience that you have? Are you true? Are you truthful in that? Is it something you have inside? Or is it something you think of it? And you understand it? And you want it? And you accept it? That's different than you are sabir. You know? Do you have hubb? Are you in love? Nothing. This one everybody can answer. Are you in love? If you say yes, are you with whom? Are you sadiq in that? That you know. What does it do to you? What does it do to you? Hubb has manifestations. When a person came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a famous companion, I think it was in one riwayah, in one report, Sayyidina Abu Dharr al-Ghafari, he says to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ya Rasulullah, inni uhibbukum ahl al-bayt. I have hubb, love for you, Ya Rasulullah, hubb, love for the family and the household of Rasulullah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells him, Allah? In other words, by Allah, are you sure? Are you truthful? Are you sadiq in that feeling? Is it really there? Is it truly there? Is it really something to you? This is not in the hand, this is not intellectual. Do you have it? Allah? He says again, yes, Ya Allah. He says again, second time, Allah. Third time, Allah. That's like telling him, are you sadiq in that mahabba? Sidq in love, in hubb, love. And if you are sadiq, then he says, be ready for this. فإن البلايا أسرع لمن يحبني من السيل من أعلى الأكمة إلى أسفلها. He says that be ready. For trials and challenges and tribulations are faster upon those who have hubb, love for me than the flood from the top of the mountain to the bottom of it. If there is sidq, you need sidq of hubb to sustain it. Otherwise, you will not. So you better be sadiq in your hubb. Because if you're not sadiq, you will not be able to withstand the tests. To deepen that mahabba and to ascertain it. May Allah protect us. Sidq fil ahwal. Tawbah. I repent to Allah. Am I sadiq in my tawbah, not in my word? In this case, am I sadiq in the feeling of tawbah? Am I sadiq in the feeling of mahabba? Am I sadiq in the feeling of khawf from Allah? Am I sadiq? Is it really there? When a person is really afraid physically from something, you can see the signs of that. Person becomes yellow. You know? There are signs. And that's about when we speak about the sidq fil ahwal. This person has a hal of, when in dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jal, he or she is in hal of special awareness of Allah, as he claims, or she claims. And they shouldn't claim that. Because a hal is not to be, it's not a word. Hal, if it is a hal, it will be known. It has signs, for those who know how to read the signs. Sidq al-ahwal. So he says, rahimahullah ta'ala, Sayyidina al-Junayd, that, and those who have practiced, and those who have drank from these ahwal, and these sources, he said, if we don't have sidq, our hal is incomplete. If we lack sidq in that hal. So the seekers seek to have beautiful ahwal, and second, what? Sidq in those ahwal. Sidq in those ahwal. That sidq is almost synonymous to ikhlas. Because it has to do with something in the heart, by a special awareness of Allah Azza wa Jal. By a special awareness of Allah Azza wa Jal. And one more thing that would help us, inshaAllah ta'ala, elucidate this further, my dear brothers and sisters. And it is for this that we should compete. فَفِي ذَلِكَ فَلْيَتَنَافَسِ الْمُتَنَافِسُونَ. Allah says to us, we have to compete, but we should not compete in cents and dollars and power of this and that. Some of that is legitimate, but that's not what we were created for. We were created to develop as human beings, to develop a sense of moral character, to make us worthy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on this earth, to make us worthy of His khilafah, of our khilafah for Allah, that we represent Allah, and Allah is beautiful in His sifat. So we need to strive. We live in this dunya not to become this and that in terms of wealth and power, though that's sometimes halal and jaiz and even in some cases important, but without character, without akhlaq, without beautiful sirr inside, is of no use in the essential reality of the purpose of this life. And this is a quest, a long life quest, for the man and for the woman, for the young, and we grow old, then we die, pursuing, alhamdulillah, these noble objectives. To have a beautiful sirr with Allah Azza wa Jal, to be in ikhlas, to be in sidq, to be in full, beautiful tawheed of Allah Azza wa Jal. And there are consequences, practical consequences in this dunya, and most importantly in akhirah, in the home of the hereafter, my dear brothers and sisters. So, again, I have to remind myself and you with that. Again, from time to time, we put things in perspective. I come to say the following. One of the Salihun, rahimahullah ta'ala, one a great teacher also of our early sages, Sayyidina Yahya ibn Mu'adh al-Razi, great personality of our predecessors. He was originally, he and his brother, Christians in the time of the Abbasi, and they embraced Islam, and Allah Azza wa Jal opened for them the gates, the floodgates of knowledge and of wisdom, subhanallah, and of ilm, and a very special relationship with him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the words of Imam Yahya ibn Mu'adh al-Razi, rahimahullah ta'ala, those who read them, they are just, la ilaha illallah, very, very powerful, very beautiful, and very profound. People with ilm, but not just ilm, dry ilm, with hearts and souls that make that ilm so special, so moist, and so flavorful, and so beautiful, and so scentful. Subhanallah. Remember this name, Yahya ibn Mu'adh al-Razi, rahimahullah ta'ala. He said, شرب الصديقون من ثلاثة أنهار. Look at the way he puts it. صديقون, the plural of صديق, and the صديق is a hyperbole, is an emphasis of what word? صادق. صادق is what we're talking about. صادق is truthful, in the sense we're explaining, not only in words but all. Now we're talking about ahwal. Excuse me. Siddiq is an emphasis of Sadiq. Very, very, very Sadiq. Like A, super, triple, quadruple pluses of Sidq, of Sadiq. Siddiq. That's why Abu Bakr, Siddiq, not just Sadiq. Siddiq. The Siddiqun are at the footstep of the Anbiya. The highest echelon of human character possible for a human being to achieve by the grace of Allah through struggle and through ibadah and through work and the grace of Allah is a Siddiq, because that's at the footstep of the Nabi, and the Nabi, you don't strive to be a Nabi. A Nabi is given by Allah Azza wa Jal. Nobody becomes a Nabi by striving. May become Siddiq by the grace of Allah. So that's a Siddiq. So he said, rahimahullah ta'ala, in this beautiful way, the Siddiqun have drunk from 3 rivers. In other words, if you want to be a Siddiq, drink from these rivers. And he says drinking, this is not something like knowing. Drinking, when you drink something, you have what? A taste. This is a drink, and it refreshes you if it is fresh. And you feel something, you have a feeling, an experience, and a taste. Right? Especially if it is very hot. So that's how he put it. It's drinking, not just from rivers, not just knowing or learning or developing or kaza or being disciplined. Drinking from 3 rivers. He says the first one, min nahri al-rida. The first one is Nahr al-Rida, the river of Rida. What is Rida? To be satisfied with Allah Azza wa Jal, to be pleased with Allah Azza wa Jal, to be راضي بالله. أولا راض بأوامر الله، راض بنواهي الله، راض بقضاء الله، راض بعطاء الله، راض بقبض الله, راض ببسط الله, راض بالله. To be content and satisfied with what Allah commands. If Allah commands something, I am radi. I don't have to know why. You may know why, but it does not, my acceptance does not rely or does not depend on why, if it is from Allah. Though Allah sometimes tells us why. But if I am the person who will obey Allah only if there is a why that I understand, if there is not, I don't. هذا ليس رضا. هذا ليس رضا. And you find some of us shopping in the markets of values and in the markets of religions. That which pleases me, satisfies me, I take. If not, I don't. If this concept is there, then I don't. You have to remove it for me to accept. You have to remove hijab concept. You have to remove this concept. You have to remove not drinking. You have to remove the concept against freedom of sexual promiscuity. And we call them different. Of course, we give them good brand names. Only then I'm satisfied. La ar-ridha billah. If we do not drink from ridha in His commands, subhanahu wa ta'ala, and ridha about His prohibitions, subhanahu wa ta'ala, and ridha about when He gives us or when He withholds from us, because He never does what He does without divine infinite wisdom and knowledge which we don't have, and compassion and merciful love and all of that, subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we don't accept things, for example, when things are against us and not for us, and you say, why did you do this to me, God? I don't deserve this. Why me? It's not rida. It's not rida. Whatever I do in this life, whatever befalls me as I strive to be a beautiful human being, and what befalls me, رضيت يا رب. Your qada and qadar, your eternal knowledge is beyond our grasp. Your eternal will is beyond our grasp. We are ibad. The more we know, the more we should be like that. So the siddiqun, the topmost of the ibad of Allah, they would not have reached that level of siddiqiyah without rida, drinking from rida. Now, not just talking about rida and knowing about rida, drinking rida. And how will they drink from rida? By Allah subjecting them. May Allah forgive us and pardon us and keep us away from trials. But He will subject His ibad to trials and challenges to bring out inside of them rida. Otherwise, they would never know that they had practiced rida, or that they have a chance to practice rida, or that they are in rida. And they will go through that hardships. Rasulullah was subjected to tribulations incredible to bring out the beauty that Allah laid inside his heart of rida. And you can see it and you know it in the expressions, the many expressions of his words, of his responses, and in his life and in his seerah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. When they subject him to those, when he went to Ta'if, right? You all know the story about Ta'if? When he went south, after the passing away of his beloved wife, Mawlatuna wa Sayyidatuna Khadija, alayha radwanullahi wa salamullah, and the passing away of his of the strongest also support among men, Abu Talib, then he went to seek also support from tribes, to give him support to continue to spread the word of Allah Azza wa Jal. And you know what happened, how they received him. And this man, this Nabiyyuna Mawlana Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, is going to to fulfill the will of Allah Azza wa Jal. And look what he's subjected to in Ta'if. Abuse, verbal, and in his honor, and physical, and stoning, and chasing him, and humiliating him. I mean, La ilaha, and not one, groups of people like that, after having spent a week or so with them, in this humiliating way. Rasulullah, look what he had endured. And then he didn't tell them anything. He didn't curse at them. But all his dua at that moment when he fled, he stands there bleeding, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, bleeding from his noble feet and his face. He turns to Allah Azza wa Jalla and says, of the beautiful dua that he mentioned, he says, إِن لَمْ يَكُنْ بِكَ عَلَيَّ غَضَبٌ فَلَا أُبَالِي. With that, he didn't say, why did you do this to me, Allah? I'm your prophet. How could you let them do this to me? Am I not? Ya Latif. But that's not why he was chosen, because he is not like that. And most of us, if not all of us, are the opposite. Instead, he says, Ya Allah, in other words, if this, what is happening to me, is not an expression of anger from you against me. First that he says, what did I do? What's the wrong I did? First of all, he looks into himself, the wrong that I did to deserve this, and I deserve it. Versus we say, I'm innocent. No, we didn't do anything. We didn't do anything. We don't deserve this. Why? No. Individuals and groups and nations. Think that? We don't deserve anything that happens to us bad. But he says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, if you're not angry with me, it's okay. It's okay. That's rida. As long as you're not angry with me. If you're angry with me, no, I'm not pleased with that. I have to do something about it. But if you're not angry with me, and I'm subjected to all of this, it's okay. أهلا وسهلا. إن لم يكن بك علي غضب فلا أبالي. This is Rasulullah. And a Siddiq cannot reach the level of Siddiqiyya without the hal of rida. And second, without having drunk from the river of rida. Second, without having drunk from the river of sabr. Sabr. Patience. There is no rida, there is no sidq. There is no patience, there is no sidq. Patience in obeying Allah, patience in keeping away from its prohibitions, patience in the face of hardships and tribulations and injury and harm and pain and suffering caused by me and by other than me, to me and the environment and the surrounding, and patience in my treating others kindly and gently and justly and fairly and benevolently. Patience. Without patience there is no Siddiqiyya. They have drunk from the river of patience. And thirdly, from the river of Haya, min Nahr al-Haya. Haya, subhanallah, this beautiful character of a Muslim. Without Haya, no Islam. Without Haya, no Iman. Why is that? Who said that? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Remember, I shared these texts with you before. الإيمان والحياء قرنا جميعا إذا رفع أحدهما رفع الآخر, as Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned. Faith, Iman in God, faith in God, Iman in Allah Azza wa Jal have been always joined together. Iman and Haya, and Haya have always been joined together. We lift one, the other one is lifted. Haya, this feeling of bashfulness and shyness and timidity and humbleness, all words, but they're not exactly Haya, they're all expressions of Haya. haya of a young from an elder, haya of a student from a teacher, haya from a child towards a parent, haya from a young towards an elder, haya from simply doing something improper while somebody else that you know and you see can see you. Not fear, haya, feeling uncomfortable in the face of doing something that is offending to the other or to the self. Haya. That's why when we used to speak of haya back home, and the more we become more materialistic, the more this characteristic disappears from our lexicon. When you're back home and your age, when we were younger, even you go play outside to play, when you see an elder, you stop. Not out of fear, out of uncomfortable. You say respect sometimes. That's haya. Just, you don't do that in front of an elder. It's improper. It makes you feel uncomfortable. You know, a young woman, even as a young woman not yet reaching the age of puberty, she's outside, not covering her head. It's halal. She's not yet the puberty. She sees an elderly or a man, she does that out of haya. That beautiful character, that beautiful sifa. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in one text teaches us and gives a parable of haya. Like when you see an elderly, beautiful elderly man that you respect and revere, beautiful characteristics, and when you see him, you change your behavior and you become, one very special in front of that elderly person. It just instills inside of you that feeling of reverence, special reverence and respect called haya. Man have to have haya. The Anbiya have a lot of haya. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had more haya than even a young woman, unmarried young woman in her private quarters. That's how he was described in the authentic hadith. كان أشد حياء من العذراء في خدرها. Haya. الصديق, he says, therefore Sayyidina Mu'adh, Yahya ibn Mu'adh al-Razi, cannot taste of Siddiqiyya, would not reach the level of Siddiqiyya without haya. الحياء حسن ولكنه في النساء أحسن, as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is related to have said, or as some of the Salaf had said, haya is beautiful always, but haya coming from women is even more beautiful. In other words, we lack haya, in accordance to this text of Sayyidina Yahya ibn Mu'adh, if we lack haya, lacking صدق مع الله عز وجل. We're lacking truthfulness with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And do know, my dear brothers and sisters, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has mentioned in many texts, and the companions have mentioned in texts, that of the first attributes and characteristics that shall be lifted from the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and from the world is what? Haya. Haya. So let's go back to this. Drinking from the rivers of riba, sabr, haya are necessary for becoming a siddiq. And why we spoke of siddiq? Because we were speaking of sidq. Why did we speak of sidq? Because ikhlas. And why did we speak of ikhlas? Because of tawheed. Because of la ilaha illallah. Because of tawheed. This, inshallah ta'ala, I intended to say, it's already past 8 o'clock, inshallah ta'ala, but I hope you don't mind to to go beyond time sometimes, because we are in dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jal, and that's sometimes practiced by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and by his Sahaba such as Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas and others, that sometimes they do that. They know the time, but they are doing something that is more important than those 5 minutes or 3 minutes or 10 minutes, inshallah ta'ala. Sometimes we don't do that all the time, though there are those who don't mind all the time, inshallah ta'ala. Please remember, the intent is that we practice, not that we know. The intent is that we practice, not that we know. And we practice with ikhlas, inshallah ta'ala. I hope that especially those of you who are here from the very beginning, that you make good sense of this, hafizakumullah, may Allah guard you and bless you, that you review that you internalize that, and that we practice. We learn to practice and implore Allah to help us develop those characteristics. And when we come back next time, I have some other more things to tell you about some of the things we do to help us develop ikhlas, inshallah ta'ala. Wa sallallahu wa sallim ala sayyidina wa maulana Muhammadin wa ala alihi al-tahirin wa ashabihi al-mayamin والتابعين لهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Please, let's call adhan.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر